Gossip is a thief, slipping through the cracks of trust to steal what you hold dear. Your confidence, your name, your light. My name is Elena, and at 32, I learned that truth in a world where words became weapons and lies stripped me bare. This isn't a story of defeat or a plea for pity. It's the raw, unyielding tale of how gossip shattered my confidence, tore my dreams to shreds, and nearly broke me. Yet I rose through overcoming shame to create a legacy that echoes truth. If you've ever felt the burn of whispered lies, the weight of a tarnished name, or the ache of a silenced voice, this is for you. Shame doesn't own you. It's the fire where your strength is forged. I'm proof that even when the world turns against you, you can rise to build something eternal. I was a freelance journalist, a storyteller who chased truth like a calling. At 29, I'd gone from writing local blogs to breaking stories for major outlets. Investigations that exposed corruption, profiles that gave voice to the unseen. My laptop was my battlefield, littered with notes, coffee stains, and late-night drafts. I lived for the thrill, the moment a story clicked, the email from an editor saying, "This changes everything." Journalism was my home, my colleagues my allies. I was the optimist who saw every story as a chance to shift the world. My curiosity a compass, my boldness a shield. Then came Marcus, a rival freelancer with a knack for connections and a hunger for glory. He saw my bylines, my spark, and chose to dim it. It started subtly, an offhand comment on X about my questionable sources, a whisper to editors that my work lacked rigor. I thought I could outright him, that my stories would speak for me. But Marcus wasn't alone. Colleagues I'd shared tips with, networked with, amplified his lies. Their loyalty traded for his favor. They spread rumors I'd plagiarized, troll my posts, tag me in threads accusing me of fraud. The gossip wasn't loud. It was a venom, seeping into every corner of my world. The lies grew like wildfire, relentless and cruel. A viral thread on X claimed I'd stolen an award-winning story, complete with fabricated screenshots. My name trended for all the wrong reasons. Editors stopped replying, contracts vanished, my inbox filled with hate. I was blacklisted from conferences, my pitches ignored. The industry I'd loved became a maze of judgment. Every notification, a dagger. I'd lie awake, scrolling through accusations, questioning my worth. Was I the fraud they claimed? My savings dwindled, my confidence shattered. I stopped writing, my laptop gathering dust. My laughter, once bright, faded. I was a stranger in my own skin, haunted by the woman who dreamed of changing the world. The shame wasn't just a feeling, it was a weight, pressing until I could barely breathe. Yet even in the darkest storm, a spark remains. One morning, staring at another hate-filled email, I found a sticky note on my desk, scribbled years ago. "Your scars don't write your story, you do." Those words were a pulse, a reminder I was still here. I couldn't erase the lies or undo the damage, but I could choose what came next. I wasn't whole, but I was alive, and that was enough. I vowed to rise, not to silence the trolls, but to honor the woman I still believed I could be. That vow didn't erase the shame or quiet the doubts. It didn't pay my bills or mend my heart, but it gave me a thread, a reason to move when all I wanted was to fade. I began to see that gossip wasn't my end. It was my beginning, a chance to forge a path no one could tarnish. Rising begins with mindset, a refusal to let lies define your worth. I needed to rebuild my thoughts before my life. I started small, because small was all I could carry. I volunteered at a community newsroom, fact-checking local stories. It wasn't glamorous, but each verified fact was a step away from the woman who'd lost herself. I spent nights learning, free courses on investigative journalism, digital ethics, storytelling. The industry had taught me to chase bylines. Now I wanted to write for truth. My apartment, once a tomb, became a workshop of ideas. I journal my pain, not to dwell, but to understand. Each word was a brick, building a new foundation. I wasn't just surviving, I was crafting a mindset that saw possibility in ruin, a belief that my voice still mattered. Mindset grows into belief, and belief is the courage to trust your truth again. At the newsroom, I met Sophia, a veteran editor whose warmth saw past my scars. She invited me to a journalism conference, a room of storytellers who'd faced their own battles. I shared my story, not the gossip, but my hunger to rebuild. Their nods, their questions, were a lifeline. Proof I wasn't invisible. I started a blog, Truth Vibe, writing about journalism and resilience. Readers found me, reporters who'd been slandered, writers who'd been shamed. Their comments became my anchor, reminding me my words still had power. I began to believe not because I felt worthy, but because I was doing it. Belief wasn't a gift. It was a flame, kindled by every risk I took. Belief demands discipline, the quiet work of showing up when shame screams loudest. I set a routine, wake at 5 a.m., write for 2 hours, volunteer, learn. If doubt crept in, I worked. If I missed my old life, I worked harder. I saved every penny, living on instant coffee and thrift store clothes. I pitched stories to small outlets, offering free drafts to rebuild my portfolio. Rejection stung, but I kept going, knowing each no was a step, not a verdict. One day, a nonprofit hired me to write their human rights report. They called me Elena the truth teller, and that name felt like armor, shielding the woman I was becoming. Discipline wasn't just effort. It was my rebellion against the lies that tried to bury me. Discipline breeds vision, and vision lifts the soul. I began to see beyond my apartment, beyond the shadow of gossip. My work wasn't just about stories, it was about amplifying truth. The idea of community, of giving voice to the silenced, became my guide. Sophia connected me with a mentor, a former war correspondent who'd survived her own scandals. Together, we launched Truth Vibe as a platform, supporting journalists facing defamation. I wrote our mission, our stories, our future. Truth Vibe grew from a dream to a reality, with 30 reporters in our first cohort. Their courage fueled my purpose. Their truths lit my fire. Vision wasn't a plan, it was a calling, pulling me toward a world I could shape. Vision demands action, and action demands courage. I started speaking at media meetups, my voice shaky but honest. I told my story, not of shame but of rising. I refused to hide my scars, because silence was heavier than lies. I wrote a guide, Writing Through Lies, sharing tools for career recovery. I sold it online, every dollar funding Truth Vibe. Challenges came, funders doubted, a story flopped, whispers of my past resurfaced, but I kept going, knowing pain doesn't end you unless you let it. Truth Vibe expanded to 7 countries, supporting 1,000 journalists, and my guide became a resource for media schools. Action wasn't just work, it was my defiance, my proof that I was more than their gossip. Action breeds gratitude, and gratitude changes everything. I began each day listing 3 things I was thankful for. Sophia, my team, my second chance. Gratitude wasn't just a feeling, it was a lens that showed me what I still had. Even the gossip became something to embrace, not because it was fair, but because it carved my path to purpose. I gave back, offering free workshops for aspiring reporters, mentoring young writers. Every thank you, Elena, was a gift, a reminder I was more than my pain. I wasn't just helping others, I was healing myself, stitch by stitch. Gratitude turned my wounds into wisdom, my loss into light. Gratitude fuels adaptability, and adaptability is survival. Running a platform was a storm. Funding faltered, trolls attacked, my energy drained. But I trusted that every problem had a way through. When we lost a grant, I crowdfunded, sharing our story online. When a story failed, I rewrote it, staying up late to learn what went wrong. When my past resurfaced, I faced it, speaking openly about my struggles. Setbacks weren't defeats. They were chances to grow. Adaptability wasn't just a skill. It was my strength, turning obstacles into stepping stones. I learned to pivot without losing sight of my truth. Resilience is the heart of transformation. There were days I wanted to quit. When a funder pulled out, when a reporter doubted me, when I saw Marcus's name in a media outlet, thriving while I fought. But resilience isn't about feeling unbreakable. It's about showing up. The gossip was my crucible, but my purpose was my anchor. Truth Vibe grew, supporting 4,000 journalists, earning a global award for media integrity. Standing on that stage, I felt no anger toward Marcus or the trolls. I felt pride for the woman I'd become, for the lives I'd touched, for the legacy I'd built. Resilience wasn't just survival. It was my triumph, my proof that no lie could hold me. Learning became my lifeline. I dove into investigative techniques, leadership, digital storytelling, hungry to grow. I learned from failures, like a story that flopped, and successes, like a viral campaign that tripled our reach. I learned from my reporters, my team, even my pain. Each lesson made me sharper, bolder, ready for what came next. Truth Vibe wasn't just a platform. It was a movement, empowering journalists to tell their truths. Learning wasn't just knowledge. It was my freedom, my way of turning scars into stars. The journey never ends, but it shapes you. Today, Truth Vibe spans 15 countries, with 6,000 journalists supported and a team of 400 storytellers. I've spoken at global media summits, published a book, and mentored thousands. But the real victory isn't the spotlight. It's the reporter who hugged me, saying, "You gave me my truth back." It's the writer who broke a story that changed laws. My opportunity was in the ashes of gossip, in the moments I chose to rise. I thrived, not because I'm extraordinary, but because I refused to stay shattered. Yes, you listening now, you're not defined by the lies that wound you, the gossip that shamed you, the accusations that crushed you, the shame that scarred you. They're not your story's end. They're your forge, your spark, your chance to build something greater. Take that first step, no matter how small. Believe in your truth, no matter how distant it feels. Trust in your heart, no matter how heavy it seems. You are not your pain. You are a force, a legacy, a story waiting to rise. The shame you carry today, it's not your chain. It's your foundation. Build on it. Rise.